Herinneren, het verhaal van Maurits Kiek. Remembering the Maurits Kiek story won Best Film in International Movie Awards.
I never expect to win. It is always a wonderful acknowledgement to win and screened within a film festival.
International Movie Awards, during its 8th-year anniversary celebration, announced its Best Film winner in an award ceremony that took place in the Russian Culture Center in Jakarta, Indonesia, in March. International Movie Awards, as a respected international film festival, seeks to annually acknowledge the finest in new independent and mainstream film production. This year, the festival chose Herinneren, het verhaal van Maurits Kiek, remembering the Maurits Kiek story, directed by Cheryl Halpern, as Best Film.
To win Best Film is such a privilege for me, and it really is an affirmation of the story that I have been allowed to tell and share with audiences. The story of Maurits Kiek came to me over a period of time. I met Maurits Kiek's granddaughter when she was skiing as a World Cup racer in the championships in Beaver Creek, Colorado. And she was representing the state of Israel in the women's ski races. She had a very quick time, and so I walked over to her after the race and said, "Well done," in Hebrew, Kol HaKavod. And she was surprised to hear somebody speak to her in Hebrew in Beaver Creek, Colorado. And we met again in Israel. And she introduced me to her father, Herman. And when I meet people, I like to get information about their family. Where do you come from? How were you brought up? And Herman told me that he was a Dutchman. He was born in the Netherlands after World War II. And my next question was, well, how did your family survive World War II when the Jewish community was at risk? And he then told me that his father was actually a covert MI9 agent who set up an evasion and evacuation route for Allied airmen who were shot down in Belgium and in the Netherlands, and was able to get them back across to England, where they then flew additional air missions against the Nazis. And then Herman told me that his father was going to be honored in Den Haag, the capital of the Netherlands, later that year. This is 2015. And I wondered, why were the Dutch remembering his father for the World War II activities that he was doing as a secret agent so many years after World War II ended, 35 years after his father, Maurits Kiek, had died. So I went over to the capital, to Den Haag, and I met with the officials, Dutch officials, who were responsible for this remembering of Maurits Kiek. It was so many years after the end of World War II, and it was 35 years after Maurits Kiek had died. So what was their motivation to name a significant civilian pathway in his memory. When I flew over to meet with the officials and ask these questions, I was significantly disturbed by the answer, where they were so concerned about the youth, the next generation, growing up and not really knowing about the evil that the Nazi regime represented and what people did to be resistance fighters against the significant odds which the Nazi army and military represented. And I'm listening to this, and the counselor who was responsible for the naming of the Maurits Kiek says that he's the father of 2 teenage boys, and he's concerned about how his sons are going to react to the rising prejudice, the intolerance, the violence that is now present within European societies across the board. He says, how will they not follow the herd? How will they have an awareness to speak out and stand up against intolerance where they see it? And that was my motivation, to suddenly hear that not just in Europe, but also in the United States and elsewhere today, you have the emergence of disrespect, prejudice, intolerance, violence. And we need to remember, we must remember the past. We need to learn from it. And Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor and a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, he was explicit that unless we remember the atrocities and the horrors of the past, we are vulnerable. We stand the possibility to repeat those same tragedies and horrors. And that was my motivation, to tell the story of a young man who was committed to do what he could to save the Allied airmen, get them back across the channel so that they could fly more missions and fight the Nazis.
The award-winning documentary competed with 357 other films from all over the world that were selected for consideration. Thank you for honoring me and my documentary. I am looking forward, together with my partners at HQ Creative, to continue producing and directing films that are both compelling and inspiring, said Mrs. Halpen, an international awards winner, producer, and director. Herinneren, het verhaal van Maurits Kiek, Remembering the Maurits Kiek story, presents one man's courage to return to Nazi-occupied Europe, where a reward for his capture, dead or alive, was posted. He served as a covert MI9 agent and engaged in saving lives.
Remembering the Maurits Kiek story was acknowledged by Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Jerusalem. And they took it, they asked for the licensing. It is in their visual center library that anybody who comes to visit the museum can watch this film. That was a very, very remarkable accolade for this story. The fact that the film has been acknowledged here in Indonesia, where the real horrors of what Nazi Germany perpetrated in Europe was not felt here. And to be so acknowledged in Indonesia is also an incredible affirmation to the importance of remembering the inhumanity that man has visited on his fellow man. And we need to learn the lessons because we are all at risk in the world today. The film is going to be screened in May in Cannes, and it will be receiving a very special award there on May 22nd. There are a number of other film festivals around the world that have selected the documentary to be screened, and there are a number of other museums that are considering including this documentary within their respective libraries. So given the fact that it was just released on January 21st, and now here we are in March, on the 26th of March, I am so proud that I was given this opportunity by the Kiek family to tell the story.
Natasha Dematra, a member of the festival's jury, commented, "One of the primary reasons this film was chosen to receive the award for Best Film is because it presents a lesson from the past that must be remembered today in our world where violence, prejudice, and injustice is emerging with renewed vigor. The use of a compelling documentary narrative to teach and inspire all audiences is why the film deserves to be honored by the International Movie Awards this year."
This project is actually being produced and directed with an Indonesian producer and director, Natasha Dematra. And we are going to be focusing on the culture of Indonesia as expressed through dance. In particular, traditional dance that has evolved and been maintained through centuries, but is now facing also the challenge of modernity and how this dance culture will continue and be shared. This is a story that I'm excited about, and I applaud it because dance is a beautiful means of communicating.
Maurits Kiek is a hero for all of us to remember as we, too, are challenged to respond to human injustice and cruelty. May we find the personal strength to rise and engage evil, even if it means putting our own lives at risk, as did Maurits Kiek.